Welcome to Friday with Mr. B, and this is where we challenge each other to be at the very center of the development of this country. Of course, from a media perspective, we are the so-called fourth estate. And when you look at the three arms of government, you have the executive, you have the legislature, you have the judiciary, and those three, together with the citizens, there is a middle part where now media comes, and that is the fourth estate. As journalists, we have a clear responsibility. Number one, to be the watchdog of the society, to be agenda setters, and of course to be gatekeepers. Now we are entering the political era, and clearly from a media perspective we are also in business. But where do we draw the line when, let's say, a political party comes in and says, you know what, I'm going to pour my millions and I want to constantly appear in the front page or the first story? How do we handle that? And how can we begin to drive the conversation so that you, as the viewer or the reader, is able to make a decisive and clear decision and not influenced in any way? We can only talk to one gentleman here who has been in the media world for over 30 years to tell us how do we manage this now that it's all business. Mr. B,
Yes.
talking about just understanding the place of media in society,
Yes.
break it down to us. When we call ourselves the fourth estate and the responsibilities we have, what does that really mean?
Yes. It means that right from the beginning, when this word for the state came, it was in British Parliament. And the first estate at that time was church. And the second estate was nobility. Those guys who are ruling.
The nobles.
Nobles. And the third was the commons. And you can see first how much church was in the forefront,
Wow, it's the
being
first
first
estate.
estate. But church in the process lost.
This 21st century,
Yeah,
things
yeah.
have changed.
And what now came to be is executive, judiciary, and legislature. The idea was that these organs on their, each of them is very powerful. So there was already vacuum and need for a fourth estate that will come between the public and this powerful grouping. So that is the work of the fourth estate, kumulika.
To reveal the truth, what is really
Yeah.
cutting on the ground.
Yeah. And so this was critical because that powerful bloc could also collude. Like I remember many years, time of President Moi, judiciary and the executive were like almost one. And the media could not now come and say, you know, and of course in a situation like that, also rights of people, there is a lot of abuse. So it was critical for the state to come in the middle between the public and these powerful institutions. And the role of it was to make sure they are held accountable.
Now the three arms of government, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now this is where now the challenge comes.
Yeah, and there are times even themselves may have a conflict, and the media has to come
to
between
mitigate.
them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now the challenge comes in, Mr. B, when the fourth estate decides to collude with any of the three
Yeah.
And most of the times, really, it's the legislature or
Yeah.
the executive.
Yeah.
And now the people, the people's rights
Yeah.
are now trampled upon.
Yeah. They don't know even the truth about
Exactly,
things.
exactly. And perhaps let's focus on the dangers of that, because when we take a break, I'd really want us to get down to what should the citizen watch out for? What kind of headlines should tell them, here, don't take this story to the bank? But let's focus on the negatives that the coming together, the combined forces, not for good, but let's say for political reasons or for commercial reasons.
Like
What are
say
the
now,
dangers? Yeah,
because of the election
exactly.
next year. Yes, number of things that happen when media colludes with the political interests. First is deliberate. That's how such a media behaves. Because media like Kenya is the constitution puts media on a very, very high paradigm, and it says that no laws that will be legislated to curtail media freedom. Yeah. The other thing is that media is also protected from commercial and political interests.
Right.
Now, that what you are describing can only be voluntary. I want to collude with the politicians
Because of my own interests
because
as well.
of my own interest. And that interest is normally commercial, that they will know the weakest side is when people are offered money because they will tend to oblige. And you find, let's say in his newspaper, you find somebody, today is headline, tomorrow is headline. And what he has said is, anytime I'm on the headline,
The millions you will definitely
this
get.
is what you
Guaranteed.
get. And a few people share in the editorial to make sure that happens. And I have seen cases like that in some of our dailies. And the question you always ask, this story they are telling us, does it deserve even to be headline? Even your judgment, you find this is not a story. After all, you read about the same person yesterday.
Why is it there again?
Why is it there again? What is new? And that's what we are observing now.
But then, Mr. B,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, I mean,
Yeah.
you're a media station.
Yeah.
You have to survive.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to give all these politicians, at least the candidates, an opportunity to vie or talk about their agenda, and I don't get something, Bwana B, I
yes.
mean, I should put something
What
there.
you need to do, you give them all a fair hearing,
All of them.
all of them. Yeah.
But they also pay something.
No, there is editorial content. If they want to advertise,
So that's...
advertising,
I see.
but advertising, you find the paper says that opinion in that is not ours. There is always something down there. That is an advert.
But if it is blended within the editorial
When
content...
it is blended in the editorial, it becomes like news. That is the one now you are raising the issue. Because advertisement is set on its own principle, that as long as it doesn't contravene law, it is not libelous, it is not like this, and you pay, that's another thing.
What are the dangers? Because I'm thinking a viewer would say, okay, it's okay, it doesn't hurt me in any way for somebody to have a top story and yet they've paid for it. How does it affect me?
It affects you because first, the person who paid you know it. And the only thing media really sells is credibility, that people can believe. And when you are paid and you bring this story, it may not even be true all the things you are saying. You have really violated that trust people have. And in the long run, you'll be just talking a lot of things on the radio, but the majority of people don't believe you.
But I'm looking at it this way, Mr. B.
Yeah.
What are the dangers of a compromised media to the people?
Yeah.
Because clearly,
the danger, one of them is betrayal. Because you are supposed to stand between all these political interests. You are between the people on the other side and this other interest here. So when you are compromised, first you have betrayed those people. First, people generally trust the media. So when you don't tell them the truth because you are paid, there is a serious, serious betrayal. Secondly, your profession. You are supposed to uphold through your profession certain principles. Principle of fairness, giving people equal opportunities to be heard, all those things.
right. And of course, I mean, I'm looking at it, if one political party funds a media station and that media station is very successful in marketing that political party, they end up taking up leadership and not based on merit. And clearly the whole country, the economy of the country will definitely be plundered, because they will say, we gave money and now it's our time to eat, to recover.
Take like Nairobi, where you and I live. And the governor is asked, what are the successes you have? He says, I improved the way we collect money. But all the other things have not improved. All those stories are very bad because he was supposed to cater for the lives of all the people in the city, improve their condition. If everybody you talk to does not say this improved,
There is a problem.
there is a problem.
There is a problem. We want to take a short break. When we come back, we'll focus on, as a viewer, as a reader, how do you begin to say this story has been paid for? And how you as a viewer and as a reader, you can now begin to say, we need to make a change. We need to have a media that work for every person, for the good of the nation. If you have any comments, any thoughts, just send to that particular number on your screen and we'll be glad to look at them. But in the meantime, let's take a short break. We'll be right back. So, welcome back. Of course, as I put it, journalists are there to be the watchdog of the society. But the big question normally remains, who watches the watchdog? How do you know a particular story has been paid for, a particular headline has been paid for? Because ultimately, as we spoke about it before we took a break, it's like a doctor who is compromised. Imagine the many lives that will be lost. The same way can even happen to an economy when the media stations are compromised. Mr. B.
Yes.
You've been in print, you've been on electronic media. What are those 1, 2, 3 things that a viewer, a reader can begin to look at a story critically and say, this one has been paid for, I can't see the facts and figures here?
Let me first put a context. First, when a media does not respect the truth or facts, it kills itself. The coming of social media was a protest where people felt that the mainstream media has become something else and we cannot trust it. And when you see big issues, revolutions now, they come because of social media, like Arab Spring.
Boom.
Those people are just showing what is happening, either under a dictator, and the people are like, we must all protest. So there is a case where media has been killing itself slowly, and the social media coming,
Taking over.
just because of that point you raised, that where a media is not living up to the expectation, what happens? But let me come. When you look at a story, there are two things you see, just like a judgment in court. If it two sides of this story, does it have two sides? Does it balance? Because media need to write something that is balanced. Just like you can say, Bidan is very strong in this and this and this, but he is weak in this
1, 2,
and
3,
this
4.
and
So
this.
that's a balanced report.
That is balance. But if today
just good.
you just say, this is wonderful, this person doesn't have, if he's a politician and he has been, say, Kibera for 20 years like Raila was, you must take him up and say, okay,
For 20 years.
20 years, has Kibera changed? What has happened about schools in Kibera? When you came in, there were 2 schools. Do we have now 30? If you find there is nothing, surely
You put it, it's there.
it's there. So you start to see that lack of factual anchor is very quick to see. And that is known by number of facts. The facts are like a staircase when you are going step by step. Yeah? It is establishing the truth about, but a series of facts. So it lacks the facts. That's number one. Number two, it is laced with a lot of adjectives. Like, media, we are supposed to use very little adjectives.
Yeah. The facts and figures.
So you start to say, well, this guy is very good, or what he has done is really good. And he will also say, there is an acclaim by many that he is good. How many are many?
Who is many?
Who is many? So you see a lot of use of adjectives. The third thing you see is the opinion of writer is also coming out. And a serious journalist states that when you can still use an opinion, but you must make clear that this is an opinion.
It's an opinion.
Yeah, that I am giving an opinion, so that the reader knows that is not factual. So again, you find they give opinion, but it's represented like it's facts. So when you see that opinion, then you know it is lacking something serious. The other thing you see is a repetition of, because he doesn't have enough facts. So he would try to bring the same things in a different packaging.
But it's still the same
story.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah? Like somebody can say, you know, the city has improved and the collection of money has improved. But then he goes now to say, you know, before people were only collecting 50%, but now these people are collecting 89%.
It's the same thing.
Yeah? But he's not telling you what has that money done, therefore. Yeah. So when you see those things, you must smell the rat.
There's something.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know, I love the depiction of the doctor-patient situation.
Yeah.
Because it really hits it home.
Yeah.
Because if the doctor has a problem, the patient is gone.
Yeah.
So what if now citizens, or as a reader you've seen it has a problem? What can you do?
As a citizen, you can start to draw their attention. Because once they know...
that we know. We know.
And they know that it depends on the credibility. It depends on the number of readers. So you're saying, I did not want to tell anybody before I have informed you. And my misgivings are this and this and this. That surprises them. And there is somebody senior there who will see and say, who was responsible for that story? Of course, the other thing that I forgot to tell you is they tend to put anonymity.
So you don't have a specific source.
So you find a nation team.
So you don't have a specific person who wrote the story.
Or citizen, you know, team. Or a citizen writer. So that anonymity, yes, it can be used, but very sparingly. That's where the life of an individual could be in such serious danger that
That's when you use that.
That's when you could use very sparingly. So, if the media is to stand looking up and straight to the face of the public, is to the degree it has looked into issue of truth, issue of balance, presentation, and also listening to people what they are thinking about their media, television, about their newspaper, about all those, because people are reading and they make judgment.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. You know, I see a very clear assignment for all of us from this moment. We've spoken about the place of social media that can really be used to counter whatever effects or impacts that are working together of the general media world can do to the society. So, number one, you really want to look at stories very objectively. Don't just get the information, but begin to critically read the stories. And if you see there's a problem, you have a WhatsApp group. You can take a photo of that newspaper and send it to your team and say, hey, there's a problem here. And as a team, you can begin to raise these concerns. Just like there was a time CNN wrote a story about Kenya.
Yeah.
And Kenyans were like, we're not a hotbed of terrorism and attacks. No. So that kind of movement, we need that to change
Of course, like I said, social media rose up because, one, people felt excluded by the mainstream media. They felt mainstream media cannot be relied upon to tell the truth. That's why, and the most credible stories about situations come from social media.
Absolutely. In fact, most of
Yeah.
the times, mainstream media really
Yeah.
depends on that. So thank you so much indeed. Do you have an idea, or perhaps there is a story you've read and you're thinking, there's a bit of a problem here. I think perhaps they've been influenced in one way or another. Post that photo if it's a newspaper part, or if it's something that you've read or watched on any of the TV stations, even our TV station, by the way. Send that message and we'll be glad to look at it and really act upon it. Remember, here on Friday with Mr. B, we are constantly challenging ourselves to be at the very center of making a difference in this country. And that responsibility begins now, and it begins with you and I. So let's meet next time for the same, pushing ourselves to the limit. Asante sana bwana Mr. B. Thank you so much.